This is a very special Italian-market PowerBook Duo from 1992, which spent much of the early 90s bouncing between my aunt's apartment in Milan and a small house here in Pennsylvania. And since we've been watching a lot of the Milan Winter Olympics, I thought this would be the perfect time to repair literally the first computer I ever used to access the internet. We've got international action retro lore, so stay tuned. And if you enjoy sitting back on a cold day with a warm, soft, and fuzzy passive matrix display, I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel. The PowerBook Duo was a really interesting product line from 90s Apple, way ahead of its time, I think. These were designed as true, ultra-portable machines before we even really had that term. The laptop itself is extremely stripped down, even for the time period. There's no floppy drive, almost no ports, a small 9.1-inch 4-bit passive matrix grayscale display, yikes, and inside of this thing is a 25 MHz 68030 CPU with no FPU. On the back there's 4 ports, modem, which wasn't optioned here, serial, power, and this big ol' long boy that'll make sense in a minute. All of that stripping down makes this laptop extremely light. It only weighs 4.2 pounds. Compare that to the equivalent full-fat PowerBook of the time. This thing weighs a ton, almost 7 pounds. Plus, the compromises of the Duo over this thing are somewhat mitigated by its famous party trick. The Duo dock. An enormous dock that's about the size of a desktop computer of the time. It sucks the entire Duo into the front of it and connects via this super long connector and gives you a desktop computer, giving you back all of your ports, all of your drives, and you can even put an optional FPU in this thing. And from this perspective, given the time period of this device, makes a lot of sense. At home or the office, you've got a powerful desktop computer, your full-size monitor sitting on top of it, a keyboard and a mouse, but then you have a flight at 3 p.m. Pull the old Duo out, fits nicely on a tray table. So, I know that this doesn't work, but we'll plug it in and see what it does currently and then try to take it apart. I have no idea if this works. It was generously donated to the channel, and I've never tried to power it on, so we'll take a quick look at this. But we're gonna start on the laptop. Now, Apple was reaching kind of a downturn in the early 90s. Wintel was starting to become dominant, leading up to the wild release of Windows 95. So this, actually really good idea, didn't see a whole lot of use. But back then, as in today, Macintosh is very popular with creative professionals. And in fact, that's why my aunt had this top-of-the-line Italian-market machine. She spent many years working in the fashion and film industry in Milan, and since she frequently traveled between her home and office in Italy and family here in the US, this Duo made a lot of sense. Yeah, my aunt's actually pretty incredibly cool. Unfortunately, this thing spent the last 20 or so years basically in a shed. So let's plug it in, see what it does now, and I think we're gonna have to tear it open. Right after this quick word about today's sponsor, Wolfbox, who sent me their MegaFlow 200 Air Duster. And I have to say, I'm a big fan of this thing's big fan. The air this thing outputs is just ridiculous. A peak of 87.5 meters per second wind speed and 270 grams of pressure. This bad boy is powerful enough to blow the dust off your other dust. The 3 adjustable air levels mean this duster is good in a wide variety of applications, from automotive to home to computers. I picked this lovely Commodore printer up from the free pile at VCF Midwest because I needed to quickly find some Commodore gubbins for my favorite YouTuber to sign, Dan Wood. So that's why I'm grateful I have this 0.88 pounds of monstrous wind. The 4 nozzles come in handy for clearing both big areas and getting into the printer's nooks and crannies. But this duster has a party trick. The battery is removable. In this, the year 2026, someone's actually making a product with a removable battery. If nothing else, I love it just for that. Double your usage or more by picking up a few extra batteries. Plus, the handle is flame retardant. Nice. You can even use this to quickly inflate your inflatable stuff, with the inflation nozzle making this great for camping. Portable, lightweight, powerful, and it's even reasonably quiet at less than 85 decibels at 30 centimeters. So if you want to fight dust with advanced weaponry, check out the MegaFlow 200 Air Duster, link in my description down below. Alright, let's see if there's a power supply in this bag. Oh, look at all the treasures I found in the bag. We have our charger, we have power cable, we have the external modem. This was the modem that I first used to connect to the internet. The literal first modem. This modem is the genesis of Action Retro on the internet in 1992 or 3, when I was a kid. How cool is that? We've got little stands for the modem. Look at that. Although I remember this just laying on the bed. Power for the modem, okay. Why did you keep this packaging? I don't know. Some paper that says Utorigente? My high school Spanish is not helping me with this Italian. Now look, we even have the original bag this thing came in. Look, PowerBook Duo 230 Italiano. I can figure that one out. We have 4 megs of RAM and an HD 120 SC. All right, let's flip open its dainty little feet here, which does expose our single port for serial. I have no idea if this power supply works. Let's just hope for the best. In you go. All right, plugged in. Let's turn on the power strip. All right, no smoke. Let's try this button. Nothing. All right, there is actually a power button on the back here. Oh my god, it chimed! What the heck? It's coming back to life! I definitely tried this when I first got it, and it did not work. Oh my god, the hard drive's making noise. Look at that! Benvenuto in Macintosh. I'm talking Italian now. Ooh, screen is not very happy. Oh boy. Alright, well, I can kind of make it out here. I think we might have to recap this display, which is something you can do. I also happen to see quite a lot of stuff on the desktop here. Emails from the year 2000, so definitely not going to show any personal information of my aunt here, but I am interested to save everything on here, so I think what I'm going to do is try and connect this to a blue SCSI, which means we're going to have to get the dock to work. If the dock can work, we can hook this up, we can back up everything off this machine, but I'm almost afraid to turn this thing off now, for fear that it won't turn back on. Alright, so here is my fairly filthy Duo dock, and the more you look at this thing, the more interesting it gets, because there is so much going on here. First, it's extremely dusty, so good choice of sponsor for today's video. Alright, now that this thing no longer looks like it came from the bottom of the ocean, let's have a quick tour around the outside. Starting off the quirks and features, we've got, of course, the huge gaping maw intended to eat your PowerBook Duo, and this is motorized. And when you hit the eject button, the motors fire up again and spit this back out. Let me tell you how confident I am of that function still working. 0. Around the side here, we have a floppy disk drive. Don't actually know the specs of it. Hopefully 1.44 megs. And around the back here, we've got all sorts of goodies. We have ourselves a modem. We have audio jacks, microphone jack, SCSI. We, of course, have serial for modem and printer. I don't know what this blank is for. Here's ADB. Here's our video out, power button, and very exciting, 2 expansion ports. I think I might have an Ethernet card we can chuck in there. And here is what your PowerBook Duo battle station could look like. Okay, monitor is connected to the Duo dock. The laptop is not in the Duo dock. Let's plug this into power and see if it does anything. All right, it is not on fire. And it doesn't seem to do anything. All right, maybe let's just shove this in here and see what happens. Oh my God. Did you hear that? It sucked it in. Oh my God, it works. This thing is freaking booting. All right, I've plugged in the blue SCSI using one of those adapters. Let's see if we can transfer all the files off the original hard drive. I can't believe this thing is just working. Oh yeah. Benvenuto in Macintosh. I cannot speak Italian. Let's see, info su Macintosh. Look, we've got 12 megs of RAM. I guess that means this thing was updated at some point, which is good, because the RAM card is completely proprietary and impossible to find. Look at all of these words that I can't read. Okay, so old HD here is the blue SCSI. I am going to pull up Google Translate. All right, let's see here. Archivo Nuovo Cartella. New folder. Old Duo file. Wow, this keyboard is a little weird. Old Duo files. The S key doesn't work. All right, and through the magic of the Macintosh, Control A, oops, Command A, drag everything over, and wait for it to finish. Preparo la copia. Sounds good to me. Hopefully jump cut to this is complete. And bam, everything copied over successfully. So let's pop this SD card into the modern computer, and I believe our files are on this disk image, which I previously used for Classic Cube. So let's boot up an emulated Macintosh on infinitemac.org, because there's some magic I want to show you. If we take our HDA file here, drag it over to the web browser into the emulator, look at that. There's our old Duo files, and we are on a modern computer, so we can get this stuff actually out of the emulator very easily. If we go to the outside world, drag this over to uploads, it'll copy all that stuff over, zip it up for us, and yeah, let us download it. We just have to wait for it to finish copying all the files. Now, if we extract this zip file we got, check this out. There's all of our files. All right, I sent all those files over to my aunt. Let's go back to the computer and see if it'll actually eject from that wacky dock. All right, you went in there, but will you come back out? Oh my God, it works. Oh, it's amazing. I love it. Okay, so I do want to crack this thing open and take a look at the guts. Originally, I was going to replace the hard drive with one of these, a blue SCSI, actually 1.1, formatted for PowerBooks that I've had laying around forever, but after watching a video by the Tech Knight on this particular model of Duo, apparently the IBM hard drives in here are pretty good and don't fail that often. So I think I'm going to leave it and just wipe it. Let's see, battery comes out like so. Might be cool to try to put new cells in this at some point. Alright, so the keyboard comes off easily. Let me get a spudger. Spudger obtained. Alright, come on out of there, you. Get out of there. Alright, keyboard connected by two small flat flex cables. This rubber membrane is kind of bunching up in there. That's weird. Okay, this is kind of interesting. We've got our RAM upgrade card here. Nice beefy 32 meg stick, I think. And here, even though we don't have the modem optioned on this one, there's like a dummy board in there. Curious if anything is on that. Weird. Oh yeah, there's our paltry 4 megs of built-in memory. Here is the display connector flat flex. Now there are a lot of caps on here up in this corner. I want to take a look at their condition even though this thing works, but what I really want to do is pull this screen out, and there are some capacitors there that definitely need to be replaced. And hopefully I have them. Maybe we can try to fix this crack with a little glue too. Boy, those are a pain to get off. I didn't even break it. Nice. These fragile plastics make me mighty nervous. Under here we have our very nice IBM hard drive. Let's just take a peek. Oh yeah, 120 megabytes. Pretty good. Come free. Okay, so here's the motherboard, and first, look at this silly placeholder card that would be a modem if this was optioned with it. Without the modem, it's a giant dummy board with the power button and some kind of a reset. PRAM, I guess. We'll leave that off for now. Up in this corner, these are the caps that generally go bad next to the power connector. But on this one, surprisingly, they don't really seem to be leaking, though we will replace them anyway. Maybe a little bit of leakage. Okay, so the problem with these screens is this little batch of capacitors right here, and they don't make this type of capacitor anymore. I think they're just like electrolytics inside of a plastic case. Yeah, you can kind of see it at the bottom there, the circular electrolytic. So I'm going to dig around and see if I can find something that will fit underneath this shield. Okay, I found some new capacitors of a similar value. They are a different form factor, but I think they're small enough that they should still fit in here. I just have to go a little close to the edge of the pad. One cool thing is that these are connected on one side only, which means they should be very easy to remove. Heat up one side. Ooh, it smells like fish. That's the telltale sign of capacitor juice. Just do not want to damage the pad. Yeah, there's one. Oh, it's so smelly. Yeah, these actually fit in here pretty well when I put them nose to nose like this. All I'm doing is... Alright, I've got this back together enough that we should be able to test if this display repair was successful. Plugging into power now. Place your bets below. Is this going to work first try, do nothing, or explode? Ooh, it chimes. Oh, look at that. No more weird streaks. We actually fixed this thing. It looks beautiful now. Alright, found some replacement caps for the motherboard, and definitely some of these caps are leaking, so we are going to replace them, as annoying as it looks like it will be to reach them. And there we go, recapped with the finest cheap caps that the internet has to offer. I did have to improvise a bit with this capacitor by bending the legs out because I didn't have the right one, but it is probably fine. Let's see if it boots. Alright, back together enough that we can test it. Put your guesses in the comments below. Is this going to work the first time, do nothing, or explode? Oh, it chimed! I think we might have done it. Look, it lives! It really freaking lives! And I only had to bodge one damaged pad. Not bad. Alright, fully reassembled. Let's see if it has survived. Oh, it chimed! My friends, I think we've done it. And wow, just look at how much this LCD has come around. I mean, it's still a passive matrix display, so it's never going to be great, but it's alive. Our beautiful Italian PowerBook. It is alive. It's so exciting to repair this thing because it has such enormous sentimental history. And here it is, working. This AOL icon still in the same spot where I double-clicked it as a literal child like 30 years ago. And now I'm clicking it again, even though I don't have telephone service. Dude, I am so freaking excited right now. I can't even express to you how happy I am that we got this thing back working almost perfectly, at least almost as good as it was when it was new, I suspect. Passive matrix displays. And we got the Duo dock, and it works, including the mechanicals. It sucks in our PowerBook and spits it back out mechanically. My goodness. It's really rewarding working on a machine that is sentimental. This thing has a lot of value to me because it was in my family when I was a kid, and I learned about the internet on it. Kind of a tedious recap job, and definitely not something for the faint of heart. I think I did an okay job. I mean, it does work. There is still some work I'd like to do, though, especially to this Duo dock. We did not test this floppy drive. Probably all of these capacitors are leaking, even though it works, but that'll have to wait for a future video. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more stuff like this, please subscribe down below. And thank you very much for watching. And I just want to give a very special thank you to all of my Patreon supporters and channel members. Thank you so much, each and every one of you, for supporting me and supporting this channel and all the weird stuff I do. I am so very grateful, and I just could not do this without you.